Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and I'm about to start another author spotlight vlog. I was lucky enough by NetGalley and the publishers to get a copy of The Villas by Rachel Hawkins. It comes out in January. I'm not sure the exact date off the top of my head. When I get around to reading this for this vlog, I will put the date in. But getting this arc made me think that I needed to do an author spotlight for Rachel Hawkins. I have technically read a book by Rachel Hawkins before. I read The Ex-Hex a couple months ago, which is written by Rachel Hawkins under a pen name, Erin Sterling, but because it's under a pen name, it is kind of a different person because it is a very different genre, and I think I want to kind of separate those as two different people, even though they aren't, and read her Rachel Hawkins thrillers as their own author spotlight. And that's what I'm going to do. So it is an author spotlight because I haven't read any Rachel Hawkins books, but with a little asterisk of that's a technicality. So I do have two Rachel Hawkins books on my physical TBR, and then I have The Villas. So later, I think I'm going to do The Villas last since it's the upcoming book and start with the ones that I have on my physical TBR first, for no reason other than that's just how I'm going to do it. So the two books I have on my physical TBR are The Wife Upstairs, and the one I'm going to be starting with reading first, Reckless Girls. I've heard so many good things about this from a couple of my booktube friends, Neva and Rainey, and they both want me to read this book fairly badly, so here I am. I'm going to start with Reckless Girls. This follows a group of young people in their 20s. They go on this adventure in the ocean off Hawaii to a secluded island, and things start to happen while they're there. This island has a history of creepy happenings, of shipwrecks and cannibalism and all sorts of things, and for some reason they all decide to go there. I don't know why. And things start happening while they are there. And I don't want to read any more of the synopsis than that because I want to go in kind of blind on this one because I have heard really good things. I love the idea of a thriller set in a tropical island. I don't feel like that happens that often. It's kind of something different. Most thrillers that I have read recently are either in like snowy climates or suburban thrillers. So this is something kind of different. So I'm excited to see how that plays out in this book. It is winter now. This would probably be better to read in the summer. However, it's cold and I kind of am feeling a little bit of like reminders, needing to remind myself of warm vibes as it starts to get really cold here in Canada. So I think it'll all work out. Let's get started and see what I think of Reckless Girls. Hi everyone, so I am here with a little update. I finished The Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I really enjoyed this thriller. The atmosphere of the tropical island off the coast of Hawaii was so fun and just something different. Like, I just haven't read a lot of thrillers that are in these tropical places, and I really enjoyed the setting and the atmosphere of this book. I liked the writing style a lot, and I really enjoyed the book. I was along for the ride. The whole time, I was trying to figure out what was happening. This island has this history of cannibalism and shipwrecks and all sorts of interesting, kind of terrible things have happened here. And the island is very mysterious. And these 6 people have all just decided to go there for 2 weeks and live on their boats, and they meet there and get to know each other. So this book flips back and forth between timelines for all the characters. So you have a kind of like a before and a now for all 6 characters. And throughout that, I started to have inklings of what was going on, but I never was 100% sure until closer to the end. Would I say I figured out the twist? No. I think I figured it out when I was supposed to. I wouldn't say it's a twist where you're like, oh, what just happened? Because the breadcrumbs leading to it really just take you there. But I think that's intentional on Rachel Hawkins' part. I don't think it was something that was not meant to be that way. And I don't mind thrillers that are like that, where you kind of find out, the author tells you when they want you to know, but in these subtle ways where you feel like you're figuring it out. That's how I felt with Reckless Girls. I'm gonna give it 4 stars, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to go on to the next book in this vlog. The next book I'm reading in this vlog is The Wife Upstairs. This is, from what I can tell, a suburban thriller, so really different from the setting of Reckless Girls. This follows Jane. She has moved to Thornhill Estates and met Eddie, who is a widowed man living in Thornhill Estates, and they fall in love. And Jane sees him as a way to kind of move up in the world. He has money, he's secure, and she wants to be a part of that. However, she is haunted by the legend of his first wife, Bee. And I have a feeling there's more to that story that isn't in the synopsis, obviously, because that's probably what the book is completely about. So I'm excited to jump in and see what exactly is going on with Eddie, his first wife, why Jane feels kind of threatened by the legend and the memory of his first wife. And I'm interested to see how that plays out in this book. I expect to be able to read this really quickly. It's not very long, and I read Reckless Girls in like a day. So I'm expecting that to happen again. We'll see. Hi everyone, I have finished The Wife Upstairs, and I loved this book. I'm gonna give it 5 stars, and I can't even really go into the reasons I'm giving it 5 stars because the ending is what pushed it over the edge. The ending of this book is just, in my opinion, excellent and everything that I wanted it to be. This book is not a twisty thriller, so don't go in expecting it to be. And to be honest, I didn't find The Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins a twisty thriller either. It is more just the way Rachel Hawkins sets up a story that you are along for the ride. You want to know how these characters ultimately kind of come to a head at the end of a story and see what happens. And I'm enjoying reading how Rachel Hawkins lays out books in that way. Like I said, it's not a twisty thriller, so if you're looking for a twisty thriller, this may not be for you. But the ending of this was, like I said, just perfect for me. I can't go into why I think that because it would spoil so much of the book, so I just have to let it go. But it is slightly an ambiguous ending. Us as readers know more than the characters do. And I just love when that happens, when it leaves me thinking, when it leaves me with maybe knowing more than even the characters know in their happily ever after, or whatever you have at the end of a thriller. I guess it's not a happily ever after, but with their ending. And I just love thrillers that do that. I find once you start reading a lot of thrillers, it's hard to see things that you haven't seen before or a different twist on different thriller tropes. They tend to all kind of feel the same after you've started reading a lot of thrillers. And this, I felt, did something a bit different, and that is why I loved it so much. Again, 5 stars, but I really can't go into much of why I gave it 5 stars. Again, this follows Jane. Jane is a very interesting, kind of morally gray character, and I loved that about her. Pretty much every character in this book is a morally gray character, and I thought that was really interesting. She is a dog walker in this high-end neighborhood. She meets Eddie, and they fall in love, kind of. His wife, Bee, was killed about a year prior to them meeting, and the whole essence of Bee kind of looms over their relationship, and especially over Jane, who kind of feels like she's walking into Bee's life. That's where we are. We find out what happens to Bee, what's going on with Jane and her past, and it is just a ride that I thoroughly enjoyed. So 5 stars. The last book in this author spotlights is The Villas, which is Rachel Hawkins' brand new book. It comes out in January. It'll probably be out by the time this video goes out. I have the NetGalley ARC. I am so thankful that I got approved for the ARC. I got approved for the ebook ARC and the audiobook ARC, so I have both. Very excited about that. The Villas follows 2 friends, Emily and Chess. They were very close, but in the most recent years have kind of drifted apart as adulting becomes part of their life. I think we can all relate to that of, you know, being young and teenagers or young adults, and it's easy to keep a hold of friends, and then once like life gets in the way, it's hard to stay close. So they have kind of started to drift apart. But all of a sudden, Chess says that they should go on a girls' trip to Italy, and Emily jumps on it. There, they go to a villa. Frankly, things start to go down, and also Emily starts to research the history of this villa and finds out there's a little bit of dark secrets lying under in the villa's history. This is loosely based off the Manson murders, so I'm very excited to read this because I think that's going to be very interesting, and I'm interested to see kind of a rift on that. So let's see what I think of the villas. So far, this author spotlight is going very well. A 4-star that I really enjoyed, a 5-star, and this one I think is probably the one I'm the most excited about because it's kind of loosely based off a true crime novel. And I love true crime. So I have a feeling this might be a winner for me. I have finished the villas. I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Rachel Hawkins is just killing the game for me. I can understand why some people maybe are not a huge fan of Rachel Hawkins thrillers. I think it could go either way. I really enjoyed them. Obviously, I gave 2 5-stars and a 4-star, but they are not twisty. They're really not. It's more of like just a laid out story with a hint of murder and mystery. It's not really a twisty thriller. So if you're going into Rachel Hawkins expecting a twisty thriller, you're not really gonna get that. If that's what you want, that's not what these are. None of them were. So I would say that's just her style of writing is not a twisty thriller. It's more these, like I said, these laid out stories with really intriguing plots, but that are more just linear mystery stories where you're like reading what happened. That being said, I loved it. I loved it. This book follows Emily and Chess. They are best friends growing up through high school and college. They have drifted apart. Both of them are authors. Emily writes cozies and Chess writes self-help books. They have kind of grown apart over the last few years. Emily has recently been going through a lot of life turmoil. She's been ill. She's going through a divorce. Lots of things are happening. Chess invites her to come spend the summer in Italy so they can kind of get their friendship back on track. They go to this villa in Italy, and about 50 years prior, some rock and roll people have stayed there, and there was an infamous murder in this villa. Emily finds out about this murder and kind of starts to become obsessed with finding out the details and goes down into a rabbit hole of what happened to these people, what were the circumstances of this kind of group of people living in this villa and what happened and how it kind of ended the way it ended. And also what happened to some of the people because, like I said, they were all like famous rock stars and things. What happened to them after they left the villa in the subsequent years. This reads so much like a true crime novel. It is got true crime vibes so much. Like that is what this book is. To the point that I actually sometimes forgot that I wasn't reading a true crime novel, especially when we were reading the parts of the 50 years back, because it is in a dual timeline situation. And when I was reading those parts, it really felt like I was reading a real true crime situation. I know that I was not, but it still reminded me of that very much. This is loosely based off the Manson murders, and you could really tell that if you knew that that was going on. And I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. Emily got obsessed and she like hunkered down in the story to root out what was going on, and I just delved with her. I wanted to know what was happening with these people, and I was just enjoying the ride of this whole thing. This was also the first book that I read on my new Kindle. I got a Kindle for Christmas. I am not a big ebook reader. I really only read ebooks for NetGalley. So I've just been using the NetGalley app, but I've been sick of having to try to read ARCs by the archive date. Like I can't always get that done. So I wanted a Kindle so that I could offload my ARCs onto my Kindle. I don't know why I waited so long to get a Kindle. I'm already in love with this. So maybe I am an ebook reader and I just didn't have a Kindle. Maybe that was the problem. I don't know. But I'm so happy that I got this, and I'm so happy that this was the first book that I read on my Kindle, and Like I said, I just loved it. This author spotlight has been very successful, 2 5 stars and a very high 4-star. And I'm so glad I did, because I was a little nervous to read these thrillers, because I read Rachel Hawkins' romance, The Ex-Hex, and was not a huge fan of that. It was just okay. But I do love their thrillers. Now I know this. I will be reading the next one for sure. That being said, that is the end of this author spotlight. Thank you so much for watching. If you've read a Rachel Hawkins book, let me know in the description what you thought. I do know they're not for everybody, just because, again, they're not twisty thrillers, but I had a good time. That's all I can say. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.